A lot of you guys might be struggling to find a good mouse, right? And 2024 did not help you. 2024 gave a year of great mouse. And look, I am usually the person that says buy a mouse, stick with it, stay with it. 2024, literally, I think some of the best mice ever came out, both Ambi and Ergo. I actually went from becoming a Ambi to an Ergo to an Ambi again, and now I think I found my end game in terms of what I'm just going to use from here on out, right? And I want to help you guys make the same decision. So I bought the top three mice, at least in the Ambi edition, right? I'm going to do an Ergo edition later as well. If you're interested, let me know. But in terms of top three Ambi, I bought them. I've got about $400 worth of mice here, right? Over $400 actually on my desk for you, right here, as you can see. And I'm just going to give you a comparison of all of them, and hopefully you can ease your mind and just choose something that works for you, right? So I've mentioned the price, so let's start with that. We have the Viper V3 Pro. This is $160, right? Like, well, why not? And then we have the let's do the B-Stex. Let's do it in this order, right? We got the B-Stex Max. This is $149. You can get it cheaper with an affiliate code or referral link. I'm gonna put that in the description. If you want to support me, go ahead. We've also got the Lamzu Maya X. This is at $119, but you can get it cheaper perhaps from esports stores. Lots of independent esports stores have it. This is a Fnatic edition, so you can also get it from the Fnatic web store. I also got this from Amazon, so you can get it from Amazon as well. But you can also get the Lamzu one in any color variant from the Lamzu store. Now, it's worth mentioning that, like I said, I bought all of these by myself, so you're going to have a completely unbiased opinion. Not that if I had got it sent, it would be unbiased, but as you know, it's worth mentioning this before. So, what comes in the box? With the Razer, all you get, I believe, is grip tape, the dongle, the cable. The cable's not that great. I guess you're only using it to charge it, realistically, right? Unless you're in an emergency situation. The B-Stex Max, you get so much. Actually, let me get you a bit of a preview of what you get with the B-Stex Max, right? So, the B-Stex Max, you get some skates. So I've used some skates already. You get a bunch of grip tapes with different styles. You get some cleaning cloths. I expected it to be a bit damp. Cloth was actually just dry. It did the job, I guess. It comes pre-installed with some dot skates. I'm not sure if this is also part of it, or this was just a Christmas special. But I got a bunch of dots. As you can see, you need to remove the protective film off these. Then I also got more grip tapes, white edition, black edition, and more mouse feet. They feel plastically, they don't feel like glass. But yeah, this is like literally PTFs. You know what? These are like usually what, $5, $10. Same deal. Same deal. So obviously these are extras, these are bonuses. I actually ended up getting my own custom mouse skates with them. But if you did want to have the option there to experiment with different grip tapes, dots, full size, small size, it's right here. And I think that is really good value because you're basically getting like, I don't know, at least $40 if you bought this separately worth of gear. What comes in the Fnatic? Quickly throw it out here. It comes with spare skates as well as a dust cover. So we've got the dust cover here as well as grip tape. So this one comes with one set, and I think the B-Stex doubles up, and it also gives you a bunch of dots if you're into that, as well as pre-installed dots, which we'll get into later. Then of course you get the dongle, the mouse, and I'm sharing the cable because I've got the dongle cable here, but you get the cable as well. This is actually the best cable, I'm going to say that now. This is like paracords, it's just really flexible, really good cable. But I don't really use the cable, so it's not a big deal to me. Alright, let's just get this off the desk. Now, let's talk about the weight, right? So, this comes in at about 55 grams, plus or minus 1 or 2, depending on your skates, yada yada yada. Really, really good, really solid. normal PTF feet, full-sized, quite large skates. I'm not sure if my lighting's allowing you to see that, but they are very large. You know, there's so many videos where you can see it anyway. The B-Stacks, they come with dots initially. Repeat myself here. The dots are actually really, really good. These are 42 grams with those dots, right? So when you put other skates, you're gonna have plus or minus 1 grams on it, right? Just depending on the size. I've actually got some BTL skates for the B-Stacks Mini here, so these fit just fine. Then, of course, we have this at 47 grams and amazing skates that we'll get into later. But yeah, pretty much 47 grams. And when you really consider it, these are a lot of skates. Like, I'm guessing that the Viper V3 Pro obviously has the heaviest skates of them all, but it's still in the mid 50s, right? This is at 47 grams with a lot of skates, let's put it that way. Honestly, I felt the weight of the V3 here, and it isn't a deal breaker. But it's certainly less nimble. Like, the B-Stacks feels a lot more heavy on the front, so when I'm using the B-Stacks, it feels heavy on the front. But I've actually gotten to like that, right? And the Maya X, it feels the lightest in motion, so I can feel it like in motion is very, very light. Whereas with the B-Stacks, I can feel it very, very front heavy. And then we got the Viper V3, which I can feel more in the middle. Like, so let's say where my knuckles are, right? I'm feeling the weight there as opposed to my fingers. Whereas on the B-Stacks, I'm feeling it more on my fingers where I'm basically contacting the mouse, right? On the sides and on the buttons. And, you know, I think this is personal preference in terms of how that works for you, right? But yeah, this one just feels light in every way. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, I don't know where the weight is, basically. It's just balanced perfectly, right? And that is a good or bad thing, depending on what your preference is, honestly. Now, let's go into battery life, right? The Viper V3 Pro, by far, the best battery life. Like, I don't know how Razer modified the sensor, but it definitely lasts a lot longer, right? We're talking like you can have long gaming sessions for days, and I'm playing at 2000 hertz, and I don't know, it feels like I can go on for like a week. The B-Stacks Max is a different story. Probably I can go for 3 or 4 days. But one good thing about this is that there's a red glow when it gets to 10% mark, right? So when there's like 10% remaining, your glow here, very, very easy to see. On the Razer, I have the dongle set so that it flashes when the battery's low, but like you're not really going to notice the dongle as much as you're going to notice, I don't know, a massive glow here, right? So really, down to preference again. But 3 days at 2000 hertz, 5, 6 days at 2000 hertz. I'm gonna say this was more like 2 days at 2000 hertz with the Maya X, and you know it's not really a deal breaker, right? I'm not getting this to 0. Let me put it that way. So the software could be wrong in terms of the battery life because we don't know how it monitors the actual battery life, right? But yeah, I'm gonna have to rank it Razer first, B-Stacks second, Maya third as a battery life. Switches, right? So these are all running opticals across the board. Razer has their own opticals. I believe they call it like optical Gen 3 or something. They do the job. You know, the clicks are pretty snappy. You can spam them. They also have the loudest clicks, right? So let me actually be close to the mic and hopefully it picks it up. Pretty loud. I'm not sure how much the mic could pick that up. Let's try the B-Stacks. Yeah, it's barely picking it up. It's barely picking up. And then we have the Maya. Right. Obviously, I've got some filters on my mic to get rid of the background noise. So apologies if it comes out wrong. But what I'm going to tell you is that the ranking in terms of how loud it sounds, right, is that the Razer is the loudest. And then the Maya X is the second loudest. And then Beast X is the quietest. But it's also worth noting that the Beast X has an optional mechanical switch, but I prefer opticals. But if you want to use mechanical, the option is there for you to do. Side buttons, well, the Razer, well, you're not going to see this, are you? But basically, the Razer protrudes the most, and it's the largest. So it makes it safe for all the grip types. And it's quite clicky. And it has a very like deep premium sound and feel. V-Stex is the smallest, so it's also the furthest up from the mouse. So if you're aggressive claw grip, I feel like you'd have difficulties using this mouse comparatively, especially if you rely on the side buttons, right? Say for example, using side buttons to build on Fortnite. If you're aggressive clawing, you might not like this mouse at all, especially with the slits at the side as well. We'll get into that a bit later. But it's very, very spammable. Like, so if you have any other grip type, it's like, yeah, it's very, very spammable. I'm not sure if you'd want to spam it. Like, why would you need to be like, I don't know. If that's you, where you're just spamming the side buttons all the time for someone, whatever reason you're doing it for, this is really, really good for that. Like, no complaints at all. It feels like really responsive. I guess that's what I'm trying to say about this. My X, really good build quality. Not as good as Razer's. And because of the bottom here, it has this hollow sound. Right, so I think I give up. I've like it's not gonna pick it up. That's fine. Don't worry. But basically, because of how open the shell is here at the bottom, it's literally just the internal parts and then a shell, and you really hear that in the clicks. It's kind of got this hollow sound to it. Obviously, when you have your headphones on, you don't really notice. But yeah, these feel really, really good in terms of clicks, right? I'm gonna say it's just I'm gonna give it to Razer, at least on the clicks. Side buttons, right? Now, let's talk about the coating. So the Maya X and the Razer V3, they feel very, very similar. And I'd be lying to you if I said that I felt as locked in with the Beast X Max, but I just prefer the feeling of the metal. That's the only way I can really say it. But the side things, I can see why it's a problem for some people. This one, as soon as there's like a little bit of sweat on your fingers, you just lock in. It's just the same case. These feels pretty identical in terms of grip, in terms of coating, and you just lock in. And I just really like that feel. I enjoy that feel, but prefer the feel of metal here. My only critique here would be the slits. For me personally, not an issue, but for the wider audience, I can see why this would be an issue because it doesn't give you that locked in feel. But like I said, I'm very, very fingertip focused, and also is very front heavy, and I think that supports my type of grip. Let's go into feet, right? So the Razer has some really good stock feet. Like they're not bad. They're not bad. Like they're not bad, but they're not good. They're just in the middle, and they're large, so they offer a bit more control. And I would say the speed sits somewhat medium. And yeah, I myself I replaced these with the BTL skates, mainly because I was using this on a glass pad, and it ruined my Razer feet, and I couldn't replace the Razer feet because they don't do that. But if that wasn't the case, I would have no issue using the stock feet on the Razer. Then let's talk about the V-Stex actually, right? So these come with dots, and they're actually really great. I didn't take off any protective film because there wasn't any on them, but I've heard that you might have that issue, so keep that in mind. But honestly, I was really impressed with the dots. I'm not really a dot skate user though, but if I was, I would have just kept them on because my performance was pretty similar in terms of using like these kind of skates, right? The only reason I didn't want to use the dots was because at the time I was using an extra soft pad, and dots aren't really good for those, right? Then we have the Maya. These are hands down the best skates. Like, I cannot fault them. I personally think that Maya should just create PTFE skates because I don't think I've ever not liked theirs, right? Like, I've used an Atlantis, I've used the Fawn, and I've never thought to myself, gee, I need to switch these skates. Like, these are just perfect. I'm going to say The best comparison of these skates, think of a BTL. Like if you've ever used the BTL skates, they're slightly thinner and slightly faster. And to me, they feel perfect. So now let's get into configuring your mouse. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to actually download the software for your Razer mouse, right? But if you do have a Razer mouse, you're going to have to get the Razer Synapse 4. And as you can see, not many people are a fan of it, mainly because there's a lot of, I'm going to simplify to bloatware. But what we're really looking at here is our device. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. You can set the dongle to have an indicator to warn your battery status, however you want it to look like. Also knowing I've never used the hyper shift, never used it, so I'm not going to comment on that. Then pretty simple, you can set your DPI stages. I'm not sure how to change the DPI. Is it, oh, it's at the bottom of your mouse. Yeah, never used it. I always use once DPI, that's fine for me. And then you have the sensitivity matcher here. I've used it and I got different results using the same mouse. So this is probably a human error. I think at one point I got like 1630, the next one I got 1599 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it works maybe. I don't know. I'm probably doing it wrong, right? Now, holding rate. It's pretty cool. I like to keep mine at 2000, keep it simple, but you can also change it, right, when you're in game if you want. I believe to actually take advantage of this, you need to be playing the game in full screen mode, right? Then, of course, you've got the power settings, the calibration. So this should be the lift-off distance, 0.7, 1, and 2. I'm not sure why they don't also say it there, but hey. And then we have the advanced settings. So you're able to do dynamic sensitivity, which is basically an acceleration curve of your choice. And how I would do it is I just keep it off because I don't like acceleration, but a lot of people do like this, and particularly people that have higher CM/360s, as well as a rotation, right? So I actually have vorchah, and I keep that at -2. So speaking of vorchah, this is not a Razer exclusive feature. You can have both these features if you download a software called vorchah, and that works across all your mice. Now let's have a look at the Beast Max, which is a web-based software. So in order to get onto this, you're going to need a Chromium-based browser, right? So Firefox is not going to work, but you can use Edge, Chrome, Brave, like I'm using for this as well. And let's get into it. One thing I really like here is that it's just describing everything for you. Like there's no need to guess, there's no need to like kind of like, it's just there. Everything's just there. It's really simple descriptions, really simple one pager for the performance. So if you remember the Razer thing, we had to go through like, I don't know, 4 different tabs, right? And the only tab that was really different was the advanced part. This is all on a single page, which is really useful to have. I've never really gone into the key binding thing, so I like to use my mouse at default. The lighting thing, basically, I believe I just changed it to brief red, maybe, when the battery's low. I don't know, but I maybe I changed this to red. I actually don't remember. And macros, as you can see, we don't use macros here. Up to you though. So finally, we got the Maya X, which is also a web-based thing. There's something about the X maybe, like the Beast X, the Maya X. It's just the X factor that's making it have a web-based configuration. So if we just look, this is really simple. Like, it's a bit too simple. And what I mean by that is there's no descriptions. Also, what does high speed mode do? And what I noticed when I click on high speed mode, it says competition mode. Okay, cool. What does that do? So it's got 2 different names and we don't know what it does. So to my knowledge, all it does is it drains your battery power and it lowers your input lag, but I've had to research that, right? If it was just a bit of a description, it would have been useful. And I could be wrong. It's just someone's telling me on the internet that this is what it does. But apart from that, keeping it very simple, keeping it on one page, which I really like. But while we're at this page, right, let's actually finally talk about the mice, right, in terms of grip. So if I talk about myself, I am primarily fingertip grip. I hybrid sometimes, right? So I'm using my fingers to drive the mouse, but then sometimes I drive it backwards, right? So it might be actually easier if I just show you on the camera. So you can see my fingers are here, and then we're driving it here. And when we drive it backwards, now we become somewhat of a claw grip. And then we can just, primarily I'm just swiveling it with my fingers, but if I have to like adjust, I'm having contact with this fatty part of my thumb right at the bottom. That is my grip style. So when I use the Maya X, since we're talking about it now, this is actually a claw-centric mouse, right? And this isn't just me saying it, right? There you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it properly, you rotate it like that. Basically, it says suitable for claw grip, right? So obviously, this isn't a claw grip mouse, but what I figured when I was playing with it is that it definitely does benefit using the claw grip a lot more than using any other grip. If we go to the Viper V3 Pro, what I noticed is it's a bit more palm centric, right? So it fills out my palm a lot more, but you can flex it. You can aggro claw it. The side buttons are fine. The clicks are fine. Like the clicks are like really deep in. So that's fine as well. The way it curves inwards on the sides, also very safe. Basically, this is a safe mouse. You can use this mouse for any style, right? But I'm going to say if you were primarily a palm user, this would be the mouse you should get out of these three. If you're primarily a claw user, this should be the mouse you should get out of these three. Which makes you think, well, this must be a fingertip mouse, right? Well, that's pretty much how I use it, right? I use it as a fingertip mouse, but also I stabilize it here, the fatty part. And because for some reason, the way the hump, so I'm not sure if the camera's not really going to do it justice, right? But the way the hump looks on these two is a lot more aggressive on the Maya, right? And because of that, when I'm resting my wrist, my hands are kind of like tilted a bit more high. And while I do perform good on the Maya, it gives me a lot of fatigue, right? So one thing I'm really an advocate of is longevity. Like I've managed to go gaming for about 2 decades without any single wrist pain at all, right? I've never had RSI and none of this stuff because I believe comfort is king, right? And because of that, I don't want to deal with any wrist pains, no cramps, nothing like that. And I also want to make sure that I'm not fatiguing myself. With my style of grip, this doesn't give it to me. So, reiterating, claw, palm, but very safe. You can use every shape on this. Pretty safe, but not really good for fingertip. So if you've got slightly smaller hands, you might be able to palm this as well. But I'm going to say you're probably going to have to be an arm aimer. But that's for another video, right? And this, I'm going to say, is the ultimate hybrid mouse. Like, if you switch between different kind of grips like I do, if you primarily fingertip, this is great. I've got wide hands, so I'm like 21 centimeters by 11.5. So I don't want the smaller fingertip mice. And also I like having the stabilizing when I switch my grips, right? Like I said, I'm a hybrid gripper. This is the ultimate safe shape. And yeah, that's all I can really say about this. Between these two, I'm able to play with my grip style for hours. Like I won't even notice I'm using the mouse. This one's even better because it's lighter, right? Like it's common sense, but it's quite negligible at this point. So the best mouse. For me, I'm going to stick with the Beast X. It's basically a larger, finer mouse, ultralight Tiger. It's actually a smaller Air 58, but only slightly. And I think that's good because it gives a lot of nimbleness. I really like how the metal feels. All three of these are built like a tank, by the way. And, you know, I've literally, this is, because it was slippery to me at the start, this has literally slipped on my hands when I tried to grab it like this. Flew like 7 feet in the air, landed on the hardwood, and it was completely fine. Not a dent, not a screw loose, nothing, right? Not really tested these two, but I'm sure they're pretty solid. Even though this one's got an exposed bottom. Now, I'm going to say to you, there's one advantage to the Beast X, and that is it's got 3 sizes. So it's got the Beast X 8K, it's got the Beast X Mini, and it's got the Beast X Max. And the shape is pretty consistent across the board with all three, similar to the Final Mouse, right? Because it's pretty much a Final Mouse clone, even though I'm going to argue that it's slightly better. The Maya, to my knowledge, is a different shape to the Maya X. So it's not a scale. Right? So you're not going to get the same experience using the Maya and the Maya X. But this isn't a comparison video for the both. I'm saying you think that your hand size might be a bit too small. similar to the final mouse offerings, BeastX has you covered, right? So you might be like, I like the Viper V3 Pro, but it's slightly too big, but I don't palm grip. BeastX 8K. Now, all I'm going to say to this is, if you aggressive claw, I cannot recommend this. Like, I just cannot. It could be a me issue though. It could be a me issue. Maybe if the mouse was slightly smaller, but when I'm gripping it like an aggressive claw, as you can see here, reaching this is just so awkward. Reaching the side buttons is awkward. Whereas if I do it with this, it's very, very intuitive. So I'm just going to say aggressive claw. This is the champion. Fingertip hybrid or everything, whatever, that isn't aggressive claw. Amazing. Palm or just a general safe shape, you don't really know what your grip is or you want to experiment. Viper V3 Pro. This has been a very long video, so obviously if you liked it, you already know what to do. Like and subscribe. If you want me to do an Ergo edition with the top 2 mice of last year, let me know. Apart from that, there's nothing else to say.